I am going to make dinner while I answer your questions so I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Been doing a lot of killing many birds with 1 stone. Sometimes it only takes a pebble. So wait for you to get in here. I won't eat anymore because I know people will complain. Hopefully that isn't going to be too bad. I do have my phone on the other side of my tiny little house, so maybe it's not as good a deal as having it in the front. But I was thinking about the relationship between Venus and Saturn. And on the one hand, it's a square relationship because we have Venus ruling Libra. On the other hand, we have the Taurus expression of Venus, which is that trine relationship to Saturn. So Venus has this dual, you could say, that more airy-fairy social nature in Libra, and something that's more of a personal or sensual nature in Taurus. So with Venus coming up to conjunct Saturn, it's both grounding when it comes to relationships, because we have that aspect of Venus in Libra. And it's grounding when it comes to practicalities, resources, what we can actually physically come up with, because that's the Taurus relationship between the two. So, yeah, you have to understand the signs in terms of relationship to each other. And astrology as whole cycles. It's very difficult to really understand unless you understand what a piece of the cycle means to and within the whole cycle. So I will take questions if anybody has them. I am making dinner tonight. I think my daughter is going to be here in a little while. She was so nice. She's driving my iPads and my devices down 5 hours down from Vancouver, where I left them yesterday, so I can work tomorrow. So bless Ivy, bless Ivy. And I am making dinner because I know when she shows up, she is going to be ravenously hungry. So I decided to make pasta primavera because Jewel is a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian since I was 15 years old. Isn't for everybody, but it is for me. So I am putting in broccoli, asparagus, carrots, sun-dried tomatoes, artichoke hearts, tomatoes. That should be enough, yeah. I don't have any pine nuts, though. Pine nuts, oh, in pasta primavera, come on. Come on. Oh, pine nuts by the handful if you're rich. All right, so I will take questions if they do come in. I'm sure that they will come in. So in the meantime, I'll just talk about myself. Usually I have family dinners because I live on this family compound. We have 10 acres here, and this is my little house. I have just a 600 square foot little cabin-y cottage. I'm still finishing. My parents have a house just right up the way. I should give you guys a walkabout tour, shouldn't I? Wouldn't that be fun? Maybe we'll do that tomorrow if it's not raining. My parents have a house, then maybe 500 feet that way. My sister, an acre or 2 that way. My sister has a little cottage. And my brother and his girlfriend, his wife, girlfriend, his whirlfriend, they have their own little tiny cabin down the way. And then we have a guest cabin, and then I have my Cobb office, which I have yet to get power and internet out to. But once I get that work done, that's probably where you're going to see the majority of my videos coming from. So, yeah, we have our little family compound here. It's a little commune. And although it doesn't get too weird because everybody has a different ideology. Let's see. Hey, Leni. Ferretti, are relocation charts effective once you've moved? Absolutely. Absolutely. They show you what's going on there after you're there. They can explain why you are more or less comfortable in one place or another, and why there's another place that doesn't really agree with you. You know, say something falls, you know, on your Saturn, or there's something going on with Pluto, or even Chiron, might not be the best choice. So yeah, even after we've moved, we are absorbing the energies and what's going on in whatever location we're at. So it can give us a good idea of, you know, if it's something that suits us, or it can help to explain why in some cases we ain't digging it. Adriana, what can you tell us about Sappho, asteroid, and synastry? You know, I have a lesson that Kenya, one of my apprentices, gave my colleague a year or two ago on Sappho. I'll put that in the YouTube subscribers group so you guys can view that lesson. In synastry, don't make too much of asteroids in synastry. They are not something that are essential indicators of compatibility or incompatibility. They are the subtext. They're very interesting to look at, very interesting to study. I do specialize in them, but I generally don't bring asteroids up in a session unless somebody asks about them. They are important, but they are not makers or breakers. But in synastry, we could look at it in the context of how, you know, I do not love a giant asparagus. I just don't. I like a thin, delicate asparagus. I don't know. We have to look at Sappho and synastry in terms of eroticism and somebody being, you know, potential muse or source of, what do you see, girls? There's nothing there. Or a source of fascination for another person. So Sappho is going to be one of those things that, either hard or soft aspects are going to show some amount of heat. Fire turn on, and that may be something that we're not even asking for. It's just like, you know, when the heat turns up and you're like, where's that coming from? What's going on, girls? What? There's nothing up. There's nothing. It's probably a squirrel. Let's see. Stellium in the 8th house in a relocation chart. It depends on what you're doing there. If you're going there to frequent a whorehouse, yeah. But it depends. You know, if it's something that has to do with depth or change, you want to look at the reason for being there. If you're living there, then it could be something that does bring out or trigger some fears, insecurities. Let's see. I got to pick one here that I can talk for a while I chop and prepare. And I'm going to block the pervert. Seriously, it's getting out of control on the chats, and I may just disable comments altogether and only accept questions in the subscriber YouTube group if this just gets too irritating. Girls, what? Is it pony? Oh, Moon square Venus, double whammy and synastry. Well, when we have double whammies, we have a similar, or in this case, an exact double whammy. The same kind of interpretation of what's going on, and from both sides. So, excuse me. That's a maximum amount of not just attraction between two people when it comes to feeling like we're being pulled in by a tractor beam, but also potentially fear that we can be dealing with or triggering in each other. Oh, don't you love artichoke hearts right out of the jar? Give me a minute. If you don't like it, you can fuck off. It's so good. We are pulled in, magnetized by the possibility of being changed when we have aspects, any aspects, good or difficult aspects between Pluto and personal planets in synastry. So even though we know on some level that we are in danger, particularly if we have Pluto and personal planets, Pluto in a hard aspect to personal planets, Sun, Venus, Moon in particular, we are in danger of having our concept of self on some level, in this case Venus, how we value ourselves, or idea of sensuality, earnings, how we are going to ensure our value within a relationship is very much at risk. Hold on, I can't wait. I have the skin on it. I have to chew it for a long time. Our value is very much at risk when we have those difficult aspects to Pluto, because Pluto's a force within us that can be very fearful. You can want to keep things, you can want to change things. I'm really hungry, guys. I'm just going to be eating, okay? If you don't like it, just click off. I was going to be polite, but I'm giving up. So we're enduring some pressure when we have those aspects from Pluto to personal planets. We have pressure, in this case, coming from both sides, from Pluto to Venus. I'm going to keep these here for a cycle. From Pluto to Venus, that forces us to change our concept of love, personal value, what it is to share, what it is to harmonize, to cooperate. And typically, because we're dealing with a hard aspect of Pluto, those changes are going to come through pressure. It's going to come through learning how to engage with each other without hurting each other. We can inadvertently do that when we have heavy amounts of Pluto involved, because we have so much attachment, we have so much attraction. We can justify myriad ways, especially if you have Pluto in your natal chart, and then you have something like this. We can justify myriad ways of controlling each other, and it's going to seem right at the time. So you have to be careful when we have significant aspects, especially if it's a double whammy, significant aspects that are implying conflict because both of us are behaving in the same way. Both of us are triggered in the same way. Both of us have the same kind of perception and therefore action. So what else we got up here? Anything towards the top? And I'm looking. Oh, Freddie, you're going through something like that? I am making pasta primavera tonight because my daughter is coming to bring me all my devices that I left in Vancouver yesterday. Should I do more cooking with you guys? Would you like to know some of my recipes? I know a lot. I do a lot of cooking. I do a lot of just crafty stuff and cooking and natural living. All right. What else have we got here? I went on a date with a guy whose Cancer sun squares my Libra rising. And the date was so terrible. He felt so cold. So there's probably more going on than that. But it is squaring, technically, if it's a Libra rising, it's a square, sun square to Venus. So we will have some different things. Britt, you want me to do cooking? I can do all kinds of things. Gardening and with the horse. Yeah, I should just bring you guys more around with me more often because I am up to all kinds of interesting things around here all the time. What is the moon square Venus in synastry like? Different than the composite chart for sure. We have a difference between the two most intimate factors in how we deal with each other. When we have, I think I need, what do I need more of? I need more. Oh, no, I have these. Okay, I've got enough. We have a difference between how we relate to each other personally and intimately. When we have that square. I forgot I'm hooked up here. Hold on. When we have square. So we have a difference in the need for belonging and intimacy and continuity, and the need to feel, wanted, desired, Venus stuff, wanted, desired, seen as, that perfect other, or at least a good enough match. So we aren't as prone to speaking each other's love language when we've got that kind of business going on in synastry. So it's harder for us to communicate our needs and on the one hand with the moon and our wants on the other hand with Venus in such a way where the message always lands. But there's also a great deal of affection that tends to be built into Moon Venus, even difficult aspects, even if we have those difficulties and having our behaviors land the way that we want, there still does tend to be quite a lot of attraction. So I'm gonna put my pasta in the water. see. Oh, Freddie up Moon Square, Uranus natally. You know what? I've got the conjunction. I feel you. I feel you. Ah, Marnie, hey. Moon Square Moon. What do I think of Moon Square Moon? Venus Square Venus. Best friend and I have this. It's been your best relationship. You know, I had some pretty difficult aspects in the best friendship I've ever had when I was a child. Some, pretty hard aspects, but it was definitely still the best relationship I've ever had. So it's a friendship. It's going to be much easier to have those differences when it comes to likes, preferences with Venus, and the culture that we've come from, the family culture that we come from. Come on. Close. So that's easier to negotiate in a friendship because we're not sharing as much in terms of, household, lifestyle. We get away from each other more. There's less to argue about overall. We're going to have more differences with both of those squares going on in a romantic relationship or a domestic relationship or even a relationship where we may be sharing space together, like roommates. That could show up pretty nastily as starkly different comfort zones that can come out in the context of a domestic situation. So, let's see what else we got here. Luna, you're cute. Marnie, I'm really stuck on what career to pursue. What should I look for in the natal? Please, your advice has been so helpful. You need to, if you don't know what you want to do, you need to figure out what your passions are. For some people, they don't care if their career and their passion have anything to do with each other. They're fine with doing something that pays the bills, as long as it's not too distasteful. Some people are even okay with something doing just different ideas about what they want to get out of career in the workplace. Me, I had to have a creative career. I could not stand the thought of not being able to express myself in the course of my career. Working behind a counter or customer service or things that have to do with, management. I'm capable of all of those things. I could do a variety of things. I could probably do anything I wanted in terms of career. Well, I couldn't be an astronaut because I puke all over the place. I'm not very good at chemistry or math either, even though I'm an astrologer. Thank God for computer programs, right? Right? So I need to do something myself that gives voice to my creativity. That may not be the case for everybody. So you have to look at career in terms of what you want to get out of it. Do you want something creative? Do you want something where you can express yourself? Do you want something that just pays the bills? So that's the first thing. And if it's something that has to do with creativity or expression, you need to know what your passion is. And if you don't know what your passion is, you don't know yourself very well. You're probably disconnected from your feelings on some level. Our passion, Mars, Pluto, the deep passion, that's a lot of the driving force, what drives us forward. Saturn too, but it's more the long term. We have to have a lot of gas in our car to make Saturn happen, but Mars is more the high octane. So we have to get in tune with what that passion is if we want a creative career. Figure that out. Find a way to get paid for it. If you're not looking to express your passion through your career, it's much easier. Because you need to find something that you're good at, something that you can afford the training in, and something that is marketable. And oftentimes, oh God, you got a Mars in Pisces. Vanessa! No wonder this is so hard. It has to be hard in Pisces, right? It's complex. It's all over the place. You got all these options. Having a lot of options is a first world problem. We have to remind ourselves of that. It's not always a bad thing to have a lot of avenues that we might go down. But you do have to narrow that down by looking at what is available to you, what do you want to do, and do you feel like if you really can't commit to something, that what it is that you're choosing allows you a way out? Because with some people too, what I find, let me stir this. What I find with some people is that I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to chop up my vegetables first or chop up my fruit before I cook my vegetables here. I'll take you guys over there with me. What was I talking about? Career path. I find that a lot of people think that they should find that one thing that they're destined for or meant for in terms of career and or relationship. But some people are not meant for one thing when it comes to career. Somebody, hold on, let me take care of this. Some people learn what they learn. They get out of their career what they get out of it, and they want to do something else. And they can have a judgment about that. Like, there's something wrong with me because, you know, this isn't the one thing. You know, this isn't my one calling. Or they can see themselves as wishy-washy. Sometimes that can be true. You have to look at it. You have to look at everything. But some people are meant for variety, especially if you have a lot of Mercury or Gemini in your chart. Variety is going to be the spice of life for you. And my scientist boyfriend gave me this knife. He was a stickler about sharp knives. He came over and he was like, "Your knives are so dull." I said, "I didn't even notice. I've never even sharpened them once in my life." So he sharpened all my knives and gave me this bad one. I'm liking it. It's my favorite knife now. Nice guy. Oops. I keep forgetting that I'm attached. Recycle bin. So you have to look at a few things when you're looking at career path. And two, you have to look at, ooh, this is not awesome. I don't like it when I cut into a perfectly wonderful pineapple and find this. So I'll cut around it because it's still going to be juicy and succulent. I love an overripe pineapple. Like when it's past its prime, bring it. So there's a few things we have to look at. Oh, you know, the pineapple in Maui tastes like coconuts. It's amazing. Oh my God, the pineapples in Maui. I need to go back just for the pineapple. I haven't been back to Maui in a couple of years. Maybe you guys should send me to Maui. I'll wear a bikini for you. So we have to look at not just what we want to do, but what's available to us, what we're capable of, what we have the money for, all of that stuff. So there's a lot that we have to look at, not just, you know, what am I good at? Sometimes what we're good at is not what we prefer, you know. Sometimes what we prefer is not what we're good at. We may have to practice. We may have to sometimes even redefine some of our goals based on what we find out about ourselves as we attempt certain things and find out that, oh, you know what? I really thought I wanted to be that. You know, I really thought I wanted to be a doctor, say. But now that I've shadowed this doctor all day and I see how stressful it is, and I ain't never coming back here again. So a lot of times we just have to look at the reality of something, I think, and hopefully that's going to be before you invest a bunch of money and time to figure out that it ain't for you. What else do we got? Vanessa, you were thinking about me going to Hawaii. That's because you guys want to send me to Hawaii, right? Right? Oh, you love my kitchen. My kitchen's very simple. I have a very simple little house, and I haven't even finished it yet. That was my dream. I wanted my life to be as simple as possible, especially when it comes to systems. I got very, very simple, bare bone systems in this house. I think I'll go with a incinerating toilet too. I'm not even going to do a traditional septic systems. The concept of using fresh water to flush waste does not make sense to me. So let's see, what have we got? Hey, Ilana. Pluto conjunct the midheaven in Aquarius. Pluto conjunct the midheaven can be a real gift. We can be a little scary sometimes. We have to look at how we use our power, because Pluto at the midheaven is at a place where we find authority in the chart. And we are looking for a certain amount of power. It's an interesting placement. A lot of people with Pluto at the midheaven don't want to be publicly seen. They hide. They minimize their exposure to the public. So there's a carefulness with which we conduct ourselves. With Pluto at the midheaven. Because Pluto is what's hidden. Midheaven is what's public. So we're bringing this very private, Pluto's our private parts, actually. Private parts of our psyche, private parts of our personality to bear on a part of the chart that is about exposure. So we could be obsessed with exposing what is corrupt or off. I should be having this on. What is corrupt or off, especially in leaders or leadership. We're not easy to manage with Pluto at the midheaven. I'll move you guys over here. Let me see, so I can start cooking. We're not easy to manage because we need good reasons for everything. We're not the best employees in terms of being willing to do things because we're told to do them. We need a really good reason. If we don't have that reason, well, watch out. We just may not do something. So we are very skeptical about leadership, what happens outside of ourselves in terms of structures. Hold on. We are not just going to follow anybody. We're not just going to do anything. And typically when it comes to career, we want something we can manage ourselves, or we can have a certain, it's not even autonomy. I think it's control. We want control over our environment, particularly in the workplace and when it comes to where we go. So children with Pluto at the midheaven, like my son, oh my God, they can be very, very difficult. Oh, transit Pluto, conjunct the midheaven. I'll talk about that next. They can be very difficult to raise children that have a lot of Pluto, especially in a prominent position, because they don't just do things because you tell them to do them. You have to justify yourself. You might even have to use some reverse psychology, but it can turn out to be a very good thing for adults because a lot of times we're going to ask the right questions and get very difficult answers out of people. But transiting Pluto conjunct the midheaven, we're going to have difficulties with authority figures, with where we're going, with, hold on. Perfect. With where we're going, ideas about success and career, that's all changing over the course of that amount of time. So we can feel like what we've wanted to be, we're having a breakdown, or what we've been told that we should be. We're having a breakdown in that area of life, and we don't like very many people during that particular transit. Hold on, let me drain my pasta. We don't like very many people during that period of time because we can feel like everybody's against us. And we can feel very victimized for while that transit is in play. And it causes us to really look at our motives regarding what we've chosen to commit ourselves to. What is the course of action when it comes to taking care of ourselves, leading ourselves? We're going to start to lead ourselves very differently. People aren't going to like it either. They're going to find us to be a pain in the ass, but it's our job to uproot. Do you mean in the natal or in transit, Julia? Pluto and Mars square transit in the natal? Or in natal? Okay, baby girl. Let's see. Pluto and Mars square the midheaven in the natal chart. So, let me bring you over here. So, this is even better. We have a need to prove ourselves when we have Mars, Pluto, anything. And in this case, it is in hold on, let me get my oil. So we're proving ourselves at the midheaven, and because it's a square, it involves a certain amount of conflict. So we can feel like we are having to really push through obstacles when it comes to ideas about direction, what we deserve, midheaven stuff. That is what the challenge is. So we can feel like we're being blocked with that square in the natal chart. We're being blocked from where we want to get. We're being blocked from success. And we're going to feel like there's a lot of people and forces working against us. We can feel like, the world is our enemy. And a lot of that is going to be related to, I'm not sure I got enough vegetables out here. I think I might get some more asparagus out. A lot of that thinking is going to be related to our concept of the divine parent, because that's what the midheaven represents. So it's an idea that authority, the dominant parent, what it is that we want to please or become, our idea of success, we have to push with so much force against the powers that be, or structures outside of ourselves, or even expectations of ourselves that were implanted in our minds by the dominant parents. We have to push against that so hard to make something happen at the midheaven. So we can be extremely frustrated in terms of career and just feel like I have to fight everybody. I nothing comes easy. I just have to fight tooth and nail to get anything I want at the midheaven. We really have to lean back and become more gentle and accepting and more cooperative if we want to have good outcome with those difficult aspects to the midheaven. All right, Erica, what are your thoughts on natal moon, Saturn, Mars, opposite, composite moon? Just go into the bottom, make sure I don't have anything else. Let's see. So what are your thoughts on natal moon, Saturn, Mars, opposite, composite moon? We can't have moon, Saturn, Mars, opposite composite moon. It's only going to be Saturn and Mars opposite composite moon. Both of those can be very difficult. Just one of those, but both of those together, that is going to represent a lot of passion that is very much contained. So when something is contained, we have Mars and Saturn, that container at some point is, going to need to let off some amount of pressure. So we are going to keep things inside. We're going to keep things contained. There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of feelings. There's a lot of being triggered. And a lot of blockages when it comes to being able to have consistent sexual contact. It's something that's a real problem when we look at Mars and Pluto in synastry composite, where a lot of the frustration that's coming from Mars is because somebody's blocking us from getting the magic kitty or riding the D. We're usually, dealing with a lot of feelings or passion or hurt feelings or, reasons why with those difficult aspects between Moon and Mars and composite charts, why uh, it's just showing that we're triggering each other. Our passion is getting in the way, and our anger is getting in the way, and often facilitating the way uh, to the bedroom. So with Saturn there as well, that's going to contain a lot of that fire, a lot of that passion, until it doesn't. And that's when you will have some kind of confrontation. You'll have an explosion of some kind, which is more damaging than your regular Moon Mars explosions, because Saturn is going to add pressure. It's going to add build up. And when you have something, that pressure building up, when it explodes, it has more force to it because it has been contained and condensed. So we do have more instances of feeling a lot of passion and being very triggered, but trying to keep things contained, or am I spitting food? Contained or polite. So we have to let out our grievances more regularly and in a very measured, conscious way. We're not, oh, did I make that big? I didn't know I could do that. A measured, conscious way. So we don't end up ripping each other's faces off in the moment. Because it's going to feel right in the moment. Alright, let's see. Hold on. Is that the bottom? Erica, what are your thoughts on natal moon, Saturn, Mars, opposite composite moon? No, I got that one. That's going to be a harder aspect to deal with. You're both going to have to control yourselves very carefully. Pluto in the 8th house, trying the ascendant. That's a good thing. It's an excellent thing to have that particular aspect. Pluto in a sextile or trine to the ascendant does make us less scary, but we still command the kind of respect that you would like to see. Let's see. All right, Amon. Someone has Saturn conjunct Pluto in Libra in the 7th and then natal. Your Libra rising has conjunctions in your first house. This Venus quintile and semi-sextile Pluto. So Saturn and Pluto in your first house is something that will, for some people, it can mute our expression or hinder our natural expression because we have two very dictatorial or prominent or sometimes controlling forces in somebody else's personality coming into our house of looks, body language, how we present ourselves. So you have to look at how the Saturn-Pluto person is handling those planets, but in itself, it's not something that is extremely bad. Um, but it is going to communicate to the first house person that the Saturn Pluto person would like them to come across more modestly, more traditionally, or in a way that doesn't threaten the Saturn Pluto person's security. So they may try to have some amount of control or force or sway over how the first house person presents themselves. Sebastian, Mars opposite Saturn. Mars retrograde in Libra, conjunct the midheaven, Saturn conjunct the IC. Mars opposite Saturn is difficult because we can really feel diminished. And we suffer from different ways of feeling like what we do, what we have, how we perform, essentially performance, sexual performance, whatever other type of performance exists, we can really feel like we're missing the mark or we don't have what it takes. It also leads to feelings of impotence or actual experiences of impotence because we do have that voice of the dominant parent in our head very, very heavily, judging us, telling us what to do, reminding us of our failures. That's a very difficult opposition to deal with, and people can, reclaim their power, their sense of control. We can overcome those feelings of being embarrassed or diminished or not good enough or impotent or not strong enough. But we're going to have to work through a lot of those very strict and often untrue ideas about what we should or shouldn't be, or what we could or couldn't be. And if we haven't dealt with an opposition like that, we can be very, very controlling towards others. We can try to humiliate others in the way that we feel often humiliated. So you have to look very carefully at what you feel held back by and what are you doing to overcome those obstacles. We typically have to push with a regular amount of force to overcome what it is that we feel diminished by. It takes discipline. We were probably disciplined way, way too harshly as a child with that opposition. Sun opposite Pluto. Only dude that ever hit me had a sun opposite Pluto. Those are some sexy dudes. And women too. Love me some dude. There's a sun Pluto aspect. Not loving the conjunction so much. Player down the south end of the valley I dated last month had that. No thank you, sir. Now I'm dating a dude with the exact square. Thank you, sir. Prince Eric. Liking me some Prince Eric. The opposition between Sun and Pluto. That is something that we will have to learn to control because we are seeking a certain amount of power with that one, a certain amount of influence. All Sun Pluto aspects can make us extremely selfish or self-aware. Usually it's going to be a combination of both with the hard aspects. So, yeah, God, that opposition. That makes a person, male or female, reach out to the extremes when it comes to asserting power or control over their environment. they're prone to doing very hard things. They can push themselves very hard. We can achieve amazing things with those aspects because we are so apt to prove ourselves. So, yeah, that opposition. It's something to beware of in the charts of men because with all Sun, Mars, it's my daughter texting me right now. Are you making dinner? Hold on. I can't tell her because I'm live. I'll have to click off here in a second so I can tell her that I am making dinner. Um, we're power hungry, and we may not know that. We are entitled. We may not know that with those difficult aspects, particularly the conjunction. We feel disempowered with the opposition, and we can do whatever it takes to regain that power. The square, too, we can feel very much like the world is against us, or particularly there was a heavily selfish or narcissistic parent involved with those aspects from Sun or Mars to Pluto. And we are, fighting to regain control of ourselves, to, wrestle our sense of autonomy or authenticity back from, that very scary, controlling, dominant parent. So with that particular opposition, we can go back and forth from feeling very disempowered to then taking power back and swing back and forth, back and forth. With the conjunction, we tend to be just more, our power just tends to be more assured because, oftentimes we don't know that we're power hungry. We would never see ourselves with that conjunction. A lot of people, some people will, especially if it's an air sign. So I'll actually be quite proud of that. But the opposition, we are learning to control the strength of our brutality, control the strength of our desire, because the ego is enormous with those, and it's extremely protected, enormous and protected with those difficult aspects from Sun to Pluto. And we're learning how to break through those ideas about ourselves, that are about supremacy, that are about empowerment and disempowerment, because we play games. We play plutonic games when we have aspects from Pluto to inner planets, especially those difficult aspects. We're going to play power games. Even if we think we're over it, we'll probably catch ourselves doing it. So we have to be really, really careful about how we throw our weight around with that particular opposition, because we can do damage and we may not even know it. Let's see, what have we got? Sun Dancer. In Sinistry, his Pluto exactly to the degree of my South Node in Leo. Conjunct your Venus and Sun. And his Saturn, 29 degrees Leo, exact degree, your IC. I think she might have been my controlling daddy in a past life. I can't say. I can't say what they would have or not would have been in a past life. But when we're looking at the South Node, Pluto there, conjunct the Venus, conjunct the Sun. That's a good amount of feeling, controlled, or even in the beginning feeling very seen in a relationship. But that is talking about what is comfortable, what you've already experienced. That's the South Node, may be related to those themes of feeling diminished or controlled. That is a possibility. Can't say it is or isn't for sure, but that's what we look at the South Node. And then Saturn conjunct the IC. That is something that we can also associate with a feeling of familiarity or having been there before, strong karma. So I see what you're getting at. Okay, so what have I got going on here? Let me move you over this way. All right, I'm going to wrap up and finish this up here and text my daughter and tell her I am making dinner so she doesn't stop and get something. I think I got to all the hanging questions. If not, I will be back later and you can let me know. Oh, here's one, Erica. Hold on. I missed one. What would be the meaning of the moon, Mars midpoint, opposite natal sun? Uranus, so moon, Mars midpoint. We usually only look at midpoints as conjunctions. So you're looking at the inverse midpoint of, okay, you're looking at the inverse midpoint of moon and Mars to Sun and Uranus. So Sun and Uranus can be very explosive. The midpoint of moon and Mars being opposite to that. So how we assert our strong individuality and usually assumption that we're right with the Sun-Uranus conjunction is going to be something that, and I'm speaking theoretically, I haven't seen this personally and studied this personally. I'll just tell you how it's supposed to work. That explosive autonomy, independence, the way you just say, no, we'll do it in the way that works for me. That's going to have a lot to do with, I wouldn't say a lot to do, but the Moon-Mars midpoint is going to be absorbing that. So Moon-Mars midpoint is where we are very irrational. We don't stop to think about anything. We just feel, and then we're reactive. So it's going to reinforce the potential entitlement, an assumption that we're right with the Sun-Uranus conjunction, because that's going to be absorbed at the opposition of the Moon-Mars midpoint, very emotionally and irrationally. So, all right. I think that's everything. All right, I'm going to wrap up for now and finish up dinner. I will maybe be back later. I'm not sure. We'll see how things go. Good to talk with you guys.